I still remember the first time I played Gun.Smoke on the NES. It wasn't even my own cartridge. I borrowed it from a neighbor who described it as a cowboy game where the screen never stops chasing you. At the time, I didn't fully understand what that meant, but the moment I powered the game on and heard that Western-themed chiptune intro, I knew I was in for something different. Most of the games I was playing back then were side-scrollers or platformers, but Gun.Smoke? It threw me into the middle of a dusty frontier town, handed me 2 revolvers, and basically said, "Good luck." Fast forward to today, and here we are. Modern gamers live in an era of massive open worlds, photorealistic visuals, cinematic combat systems, and endless accessibility options. So the question is real. Can a simple, vertically scrolling NES shooter still be enjoyable for someone picking it up today? Well, after replaying it recently with both my nostalgic brain and my modern gamer expectations, I have a lot of thoughts. Let's dive in. When I booted up the game again, the first thing that struck me was the music. There's something about that classic Western melody that instantly pulls you into the atmosphere. It's upbeat, catchy, and just a little bit tense. Exactly what you want when you're about to take on waves of bandits, gunmen, and outlaw bosses. I swear the soundtrack alone feels like a time machine back to that era of NES game design where every melody needed to do double duty, set the tone, and keep you energized. But once the nostalgia started to fade and I had to actually focus on the gameplay, I quickly remembered how different Gun.Smoke is compared to most run-and-gun games. One of the most unique aspects is the control scheme. On the NES controller, you fire to the left, right, or straight ahead using the combination of the A and B buttons. It sounds simple, but it demands a rhythm, a steady tapping, switching between directions, and threading shots through waves of enemies constantly moving toward you. You don't just spray bullets wildly, you almost choreograph your shots. Playing it again reminded me how surprisingly technical the game is. The vertical auto-scrolling never stops, and enemies spawn from every possible angle. Horseback riders darting through screen edges, snipers firing from the rooftops, knife fighters sprinting toward you, and barrels rolling straight down your path. And then there are the power-ups, boots for speed, rifles for range, machine guns for rapid fire, but you have to earn enough money to actually buy them or pick them up if you're lucky. In today's gaming landscape, where players are used to smooth analog sticks and customizable controls, that stiff button-tapping firing method definitely feels old school. But here's the thing, once you get into the groove, it's just as satisfying as ever. The challenge is pure, skill-based, and honest. When you fail, it's almost always because you misread a pattern or hesitated for half a second, never because the game is cheap. And honestly, that difficulty is something modern gamers might appreciate more than I expected. We live in a world where difficult games has become a badge of honor. Players praise titles like Elden Ring, Hades, and Cuphead because of how they demand focus, pattern recognition, and precision. Gun.Smoke was doing that decades ago, just without the fancy animations and particle effects. It asks you to read enemies instantly, adapt constantly, and plan your movement even as the screen keeps pushing forward. One thing that really stood out during my modern playthrough was the game's pacing. Gun.Smoke doesn't waste a second. There are no cutscenes, no slow introductions, no tutorials. The game assumes you're ready for chaos. Compared to today's games, where even the simplest actions sometimes require multi-step tutorials, this direct, throw-you-in style feels strangely refreshing. But let's be real, Gun.Smoke isn't perfect, and for modern gamers, some of its quirks might feel rough. For example, the auto-scrolling can be unforgiving. You don't control the speed of the screen, which means a single mistake can trap you against the bottom and lead to instant death. There's also no save system, no checkpoints within levels, and no way to grind indefinitely. Once you run out of lives, that's it. You go back to the start. From a modern perspective, this lack of forgiveness can feel punishing. But from a historical lens, it's part of what made arcade games so intense. They were meant to challenge you, push your limits, and often make you replay stages until every incoming attack became second nature. And Gun.Smoke captures that perfectly. Now, one of the parts I always loved as a kid and was surprised to still enjoy today is the boss encounters. The wanted posters add this cool sense of progression as you move from outlaw to outlaw. Every boss has its own personality, attack style, and pattern. You've got smoke bombs, gun volleys, explosive rounds, and these arena-like last stands that force you to stay sharp. even with modern standards in mind, these boss fights feel well designed, readable, and exciting. And visually, honestly, Gun.Smoke holds up better than you'd expect. The environments are colorful and varied, from dusty towns to open deserts to outlaw camps packed with ambushes. The sprite work is crisp, and the enemies are distinct enough that you can recognize them instantly, a level of visual clarity many NES titles struggle to achieve. But what really surprised me was how engaged I stayed. Despite the simple structure, the game has this addictive loop. Every time I lost a life, I instantly wanted another shot. Every time I picked up a new weapon, I wanted to see how far I could push it. That one more try sensation is a hallmark of brilliant retro game design, and Gun.Smoke absolutely nails it. So, how does it stand up for modern gamers? Well, I think it depends on what kind of experience you're looking for. If you want a laid-back game with modern conveniences, comfort features, save states, and a forgiving curve, Gun.Smoke probably won't be your first choice. It's harsh, fast, and expects you to adapt. It's the kind of game that punishes hesitation and rewards mastery. But if you love retro games, or if you're the type of player who appreciates challenge, pattern recognition, and tight arcade-style action, then Gun.Smoke still has a lot to offer. And more importantly, it's a nice reminder of how elegant gameplay could be before developers had the hardware to rely on cinematic spectacle. So, is Gun.Smoke still enjoyable for modern gamers? I'd say yes, absolutely, but with the right mindset. If you're willing to embrace its old-school challenge, its focused gameplay, and its arcade DNA, it's still a thrilling and rewarding experience. It may be simple by today's standards, but it's also pure, no fluff, no filler, just raw cowboy chaos in its most distilled form. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a true NES classic, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know which retro game you want me to revisit next. I've got plenty more memories and plenty more cartridges waiting to be explored.